And a very good Wednesday evening. It's the Duaneo podcast, episode 9, the NRRRL podcast number 2. And we had a bit of a fortnight's recess because of the COVID. But football's back, and it came back in a big way. So COVID's not taking our football at this stage. But of course, they've been, as you probably would have seen in the news today, there's a bit of action happening in Queensland, but that will let the mainstream media cover that one, where we're here to talk NRRRL action this past week that just came. And it was probably one of the best opening weekends in NRRRL history. A lot of close games, a lot of close contests. Not really one team stood out completely, although Byron put on a bit of an effort against the Coogin Hornets. But, of course, I'm back here with the other lads here. We've got Nathan Cross, Michael Shaw, and, of course, great effort on debut, Mickey Coleman. So I'm still washing off the Belamble tweed shy mud off my feet after 3 days, Mickey. It's actually been quite good for the feet.
Yeah, boys, how are you? It's good to be here. It was actually pretty muddy, wasn't it? At Belamble, we were there about 8:30, 9 in the morning, and I'm looking at the water going, no one mentioned the word, but it could be postponed another week because of this weather. But thankfully, we just kept going, and when the sun came out, it looked like across the whole board, the weather ended up being nice and sunny. But yeah, definitely muddy, definitely slippery conditions, and there was a few drop balls over the weekend, no doubt.
I think that was Mickey. I was about to say that's the only time I've held a bated breath at the beginning of this year, which wasn't COVID related. When it comes Sunday morning, because I started my morning up on the Gold Coast and it was bucketing down, and Shorey was worried that he wasn't going to go watch Todd Carney do the business in Byron, even though we made mention in the last podcast where that would soak up a tsunami, a broken head that surface. So. So how did you find it on Sunday, Shorey?
Mate, there was a lot of worry. We're just worried because we've been delayed before. It's happened. We've been waiting so long for this, and then it's piecing down torrential rain, and everyone's freaking. I'm getting group messages going on. Are we going to be called off? Is it still on? I heard some whispers from some of the Red Devils that maybe not call it if it's too wet. It was hammering down. We were running the markets up there, and people saying it's going to be 100 mil dropping on us. I'm like, come on. Please, let's just do it. The skies parted way. The sun shone down on that field. It dried up, and we got a sensational weekend of rugby league. Really good.
And Crossy, you didn't really have any invested interest, so you're probably wishing it was still raining. You would have had the feet up watching Mark Off Media, the Belamble Ballina game. You're thinking, come on, just let it down a few beers. Good times.
I was flicking, boys, between the Ballina Belamble and the Titans Penrith game, and I was watching a bit of footy all in one. But interesting to watch the Ballina Belamble game, and then watch the Byron Coogin game back, and the Brothers and Casino game. There's Byron looked pretty good, Shorey, as far as the surface went. Pretty wet over Casino, and obviously at Nev and Mickey, as you boys have mentioned, at Belamble she was pretty wet there. So some pretty good footy, which no doubt we'll talk about over the next sort of 40 minutes or so, considering the conditions and the fact that being round one, everyone's a bit rusty. So all in all, I thought there was some pretty good footy.
So let's start off with that live stream game, Belamble versus Ballina. Of course, with Ballina taking it 36-24, and it started off with as Mickey and I said in the call, it could have been just Ballina just picking up where they left off. They were 16 points up with the first 10 minutes, and they just thought, well, that'll do. But then it just sort of shifted a little bit, and Belamble found some extra grit, and they got it to within 16-14 at halftime. So Oliver Regan, Dwayne Anderson scored a triple. They scored a hat-trick. Jess Perry, Michael Dwayne scoring that one towards the end. But Ballina and Belamble, you had Luke Jagger, Jamie Wolfe, Brenton Holton. Mitch Spackman scored a pretty decent try too. And Jacob Hine, for me, who I think was the best player of the day. And Mickey, as we said in the call, Belamble showed some real heart, probably showed the most heart in the whole I haven't seen a couple of the other games, but they probably showed the most heart out of the teams that just couldn't quite get it done. But, against the defending premiers, it's not really anything to be discouraged about.
No, I was joking to him after the game and during the week. Have you seen the longest yard where the prisoners play the guards?
Yeah.
Adam Sandler and the prisoners come out and all they want to do is just bash and crash and get right into it, and they're having fun and they're hot, but they look up the scoreboard and like, guys, you're losing. You're getting flogged. That's kind of like the game started out like. But Balamba was so pumped. They're the defending pioneers, first time in the comp. They were coming out. They were putting on shots. They were firing. But after 10 minutes, they were down 16-0. So once they kind of settled down, relaxed, got back into the game plan and got some good field position, they seemed to score some points as well. So it was a topsy-turvy game, 16-0, then to 16-14. Then Ballina went out again to about 30-14. Then it was 30-24. And like you said, that last try at the very end sealed it for Ballina. And it wasn't a terrible effort considering the conditions. A lot of drop ball. I think from both sides, they'll be pretty disappointed with how much mistakes they made. But from what I noticed of Ballina, they're just so clinical. They were just working for repeat sets, and they were just doing their exit sets well. And there was never a panic. There was never, even when it was close, there was never a panic. And they led from, starting siren to finishing hooter.
Crossy, you watched the game too. What did you make of that when you saw? You figure, well, here we go again. Ballina it's going to be Ballina versus the rest for the next 10 weeks. But then Balamba, they just, and I've seen them play it, and I've done that one game as I mentioned end of last year. It's just they've just found that extra grit, and they know how to make it a contest. I don't think I can't recall the last time they went out. And Mickey probably could answer this better. I can't recall the one time where they played out there, where they out the valley, where they absolutely got hammered. They always make a contest of it. How did you take it?
Absolutely, Nev. I think you hit the nail on the head with the word grit. That's what they are, and I think we said last or 2 weeks ago that's going to be a tough road trip to Balamba. Good luck to the teams who are sort of going there. But watching it early, I mean, Ballina jumped out to, 14 or 16-0 early, wasn't it? And I think I was actually texting Shorey back and forth when he was at the Byron game. And I said, mate, they're putting on a clinic early, the Seagulls. And it looked like, Oliver Regan and Anthony Coleman just had been playing all the way through summer and all through COVID. Like they look sharp. Luke Douglas is doing his trademark little wedge plays out the back, out to a bit of shape. And I thought this could be anything. And then lo and behold, Balamba got a bit of ball, and Mickey's right. They just sort of front loaded all their energy early. And that was a good analogy he gave, because then they sort of did look at the scoreboard and they go, oh, geez, we better kick into gear here. And they did. And well done to them. I think Ballina will be glad that they got that win at Balamba, because I think other teams may not go there and get that win.
Shorey, you watched the game for the first time last night. What were your thoughts?
I watched the first half of you guys waffling away up there at Balamba. You sounded great. I know there were some external pressures. It's first time in a new spot, new camera, new mics.
Yep. I think you know what's going to come. Just put your sunglasses on. So you'll see what you mean in a sec. So, but yeah, keep.
But a big takeaway from the first round is, like, we all thought it when the NRL was coming back after such a extended break. Like, everyone's going to come out. They're going to have a lot of ring rust. It's going to be a bit sloppy football. Remember, the start of this NRL season was just cracking football. I think that's what we've seen again here on the start of this. Gives everyone a bit of a rest. Everyone's had a forced holiday. They've maybe gone and have been away from that football a little bit longer. They enjoy it. And now people really want to come back and play and put their effort into it. So I reckon it's just... it was a really good first round. I really liked what I saw in Byron. I haven't done too much homework. I've been busy, so I didn't catch any other games. But I look forward to catching up to it, and I think it bodes well for a great season ahead. And Duane, next time you take your shoes off and put those feet out, give us a warning.
There it is, right there, Shorey. Can you see that there? So that was my. I came in with my pair of nice $170 shoes I bought from Melbourne. And
Melbourne shoes.
With the water up to no kidding, up to my ankles. I'm thinking, I knew that was the reason I bought my pair of $30 City Life thongs. I'm like, but anyway, I was there. I was still scrubbing the feet by the end of it when I got back home on the Sunday night. But anyway, just to finalise on that, I believe that Balamba, they just they've really thrown a spanner in the works on where Ballina sit. Like, in the terms of the competition, people are thinking, and we all said it a fortnight ago that Ballina could run away with it. I'm not so sure now, knowing that.
Just quickly there, Duaneo, I think in the text of it all that the pouring rain helped Bilambil more than it helped
of course.
Ballina in the muddy day down in the valley. It was one of those games where anything could happen. So definitely some good things to take away from the Bilambil game for the Bilambil side.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty obvious that Ballina will have a pretty good team. They had is it Alex Bishop? He is the little 5'8" that
from this Intrust Super Cup. Yeah.
From the Q calf, like big Sammy Saluma's just. I think they probably played him front row. Like he just. They had a pretty good team, and you could tell they just played for each other too. They're a good team. They'll be the team to beat. But yeah, hopefully, like with the results across the board, it'll be it'll be anyone's game come finals time. So.
And in a 10-week season, it's basically, you haven't got much time, and I'll say that about what more so coming into this next game we're about to talk about, in terms of Coogin, they're playing this Sunday against Northern United. But I did some research on Coogin as of late, and it's like they had a really slow start last year. I think they won one of their first 6 games, and then it was they had the back end where they got eventually into fourth and picked Byron off out of the top 5. Just for example, like that, they can't afford a slow start like that now with a 10-round competition.
No, you're right, and I think everyone needs to jump out of the blocks, don't they? And we're going to talk about all the games, but there was a heap of errors. That Coogin Byron game, I watched that today. That second half, there was 1,000 errors. It was painful to watch at times. It was, but there was some good footy at times. But yeah, all in all, it was pretty sloppy. But yeah, Nev, if you want to jump on and sort of talk about Coogin now, they were a bit underwhelming, I thought. I thought they looked a bit like all teams, they're bit flat. They let themselves down with errors all the time. Look, Sammy Grant, their halfback, played pretty well, but we spoke about Zeeble a couple of weeks ago. He'll be better for the run. He looked like someone who hadn't played for a while, as most haven't. But I think as you say, Nev, to answer it in a long roundabout way, they'll have to get back on track this week because they're going to run out of weeks.
That's right. And so let's iterate with that. So Byron versus Coogin, that was at Red Devil Park. Byron getting win 30-16. Byron had a slim halftime lead at 16-12, and amongst the try scorers for Byron, you had Tom Parrott, who's back with the club after some time away. Won a premiership under your watch there, Crossy?
Tommy Merritt, mate, one of my favourites. Yep.
Yeah, and then Andrew Batiste also slotting the goals as he does best. And then you had James Newstead and Abeli Anatuneza. I hope I got one of those two right. Apologies if I haven't. So. And then for Coogin, you had Nick Andreas, Miles Donnelly, and Kobe Mills amongst the try scorers. And another addition that the Coogin Hornets had, as well as Caleb Zeeble. They had Benjamin O'Gorman come back into the team, and he's slotted a couple of goals for the Coogin Hornets. The pitch actually held up nicely. I watched that game on Monday night, Shory, and so you had nothing to worry about, mate.
No, we didn't. It was just a mental thing because you just, it's been this bloody long and you're worried. You don't want any hiccups, but yes. And we had a bit of chatter about how easy some of these comps get called off due to a bit of rain these days. But yes, pitch looked fantastic. And Crossy, in that second half with all those penalties, watching the game, like you didn't get worried if you're a Byron supporter and Coogin look like scoring that. Don't worry, they'll drop it, and probably the other way around. It's like, don't worry, they'll come up with another mistake here.
And that's sort of what happened, Shory, didn't it? Like as I said, I watched it today. It was a bludger that second half. There was just error upon error, and it was more or less who could hold the footy was going to win the game, as you say.
I was listening to the commentary on the big boys on the NRL the other day, and one of the commentators there said when it's pelting down with rain, the ball has more grip than just when it's a bit dewy or a bit damp. So maybe that had something to do with it, and a bit of ring rust.
And Mickey, anything you want to add about that one, the Byron Coogin?
No, I spoke to a couple of the Coogin players during the week, and they were just a bit off themselves. Yeah, they said it wasn't the best game. First game of the season, like Crossy said, they'll get better. They'll get better as they keep going. Ben O'Gorman coming back into the team. He'll be huge for him. I think he really bit of an underrated player. And he's still fairly young, so if they keep playing together, I don't think they got too much to worry about. But it's one of those comps where if you don't get it together sooner rather than later, you'll end up missing out on the top 4 now since the delay.
Right.
So
yeah, and my take on the game was I believe as I mentioned, Tom Merritt, he's an absolute meter eater. I think he did score Byron's first try, and then you look at Coogin had through Jake Sands. They had in the first quarter. They had one disallowed that might have broken their spirits a bit. There's a lot of young boys coming up, and that when I saw the team list that they had, there's a lot of young under 18s that are coming up, and then the next batch of juniors who are doing some amazing things at rep level, like Thomas. So what is it?
Weaver, is it?
Sorry,
Thomas Weaver, is it?
Thomas Weaver, yep. And that's the one. I almost said Vickery then. And Jalen DeGroot and a few of those boys are coming up from the 16s to the 18s, and so this Coogin circle is starting to evolve. So give it time, and I'd give him probably in the next couple of years. Even though I had him second this year, I'm still holding it. I just feel there's a lot of these younger boys coming up playing at A grade now, getting their first start. Like the thing is, there was a few of these lads from Coogin that were playing on Sunday that were in primary school, while some of these boys like Dylan Montgomery and Andrew Batiste were winning premierships at Ballina. So that, and then they got the aura of playing against, say, like Todd Carney and Tom Merritt and a few other boys. So maybe a little bit of stage fright for some of them, which could probably explain a bit. But as time goes on, that will sort itself out.
Hey, Nev, the halfback for the Bay on the weekend, I thought he played well.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is, but he looks sharp. He scored a good try early in the piece, and he set up the next try.
I think that's pass. Michael Brown, I think. I could be wrong. He scored 2 tries.
Carney's recruited him he's down from Wollongong way. And and Carney's got high hopes of him. He's brought him up and brought him under his wing, and he's excited for him. This halves combination. He's been doing a lot of recruiting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Shory. That's mate, I didn't know of him, but he looked the goods. He probably Carney sort of played well, but I thought Brown, did you say? Michael Brown? He
Michael
played
Brown,
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Wollongong boy, look him up.
And then
Yep.
And one of the other new players, Abella Anatuneza. 60 metres. He scored. You would have seen it, sure. He ran 60 metres, and
I ran alongside him.
He's bigger than most second rowers. He just stormed up the middle, and he's just like the Coogin players didn't want a bar of it, and he scored a freakish crossfield kick in the third quarter, and it's just like I think Byron have finally found their groove, they've got to keep it up.
There was another recruit, and they're really trying to work with him. And there's another fella from Fijian fella, and try to get them into the culture of the club and look after them and work with them.
Yeah.
And mate, you should have seen all the. So I got a quick little interview with him after the match. All the young fellas on the side, like all the juniors, were just applauding. They just loved to watch him play. And they went out there, all the juniors out there after the game, they're going and getting photos taken with him. They're not doing that with any other player. And they were just loving him. Everyone, all in my group chat with the other boys, all like the bloody human wrecking ball. Here he is. Yeah. Crowd favourite.
Yeah.
So, that's unreal.
All right. And I tell you what, lads, when you look at the sake of the Casino Maris Brothers game, you don't need to jump on huddle for 80 minutes to realise this was one that Casino really threw away, and they threw it away in a big way. And I think for me, it's kind of because this is their first game since that prelim final. I think it was just an encore based on the back of that. Unfortunately, like if you have access to huddle and see it, it's like Casino had numerous chances to win that game at 10-0. Maris didn't score their first try until the latter part of the third quarter, and then Maris got the 2 tries in the last 5-10 minutes of the game to win it. But Casino, they just had copious amounts of chances to put it away, and I to their credit, I feel they started the game with some absolute warmth. They just had some fire. They had so much pep in the forwards. They were just throwing everything at the Maris brothers. And even Paul Mitchell-Krause, which he's probably used to on a regular basis, he got love tapped by Hayden Pratt on a couple of occasions. it's just, but then I just think it's for me, it's a bit hypothetical to say that, you know, if they had Roy Bell and Trevor Bolt, which of course now moved on to Northern United, that would be like they would like let's put hypotheticals aside, Crossy. If those boys were playing, Casino would have put 30 on Maris Brothers on Sunday.
Yeah, mate, totally. It's I'm still trying to work out how Maris Brothers won that game, and you're right, Nev. I think Casino was so intent on trying not to lose in that second half rather than trying to win it, and that's really what sort of come back to bite them. But mate, I watched that game and far out. Sorry, boys. Mate, their defence in that second quarter in particular, Casino, was outstanding. Their line defence, mate, unbelievable. I thought their hooker, Jack Taylor, he played great. I think there was he ran 40 or 50 metres to put someone into touch, I think, for the brothers' winger. Remember that, Nev?
Yeah. I said it, like, you could just see in the last the latter part of that game, it was coming. Like, Maris Brothers were just coming off their 10-metre line where Casino just threw everything at them and unfortunately unable to get points. And then Maris Brothers would just come 70, 80 metres on their own accord. And, I mean, they came close a couple of times in the third quarter, but it's just you just felt it was coming. It's just like you felt like Casino just had the amount of chances, and it wasn't like they got. You can't really say it was a penalty count either. I thought the penalties were probably about even, but then it's just, you know, it just felt like, and the way that I think it was Lachlan Kennedy scored towards the end, it was just I mean, being a Broncos supporter, I'm used to seeing it, like, I'm used to having that feel about you do so well for 50, 60 minutes in a game, and then the other team, you know, which have no rights to win. There's been a few games like that. Come and steal it. Like the Broncos Warriors game a few weeks ago was one example, and I just think it's just a lot of these younger players from Casino that I just feel that, like, I'll give you an example. One of the Tyrell Roberts, he was playing under 16s Andrew Johns Cup a couple of years ago, and now he's playing A grade. And it's and for me, I just feel like these boys are still only used to playing the modified rules from the under 18s, like the 30-minute halves, the 35-minute halves, and against a lot of these boys have been playing 40-minute halves for the past 4 or 5 years. And I just feel, like, to put it in simple terms, I think they just got gassed.
Well, I think Mickey might have mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the on the chat about, you know, those road trips to Casino are pretty tough, but for the Lismores of the world only being sort of 20 minutes away, it's not like you're coming from Balambul. But I tell you what, and I said it about Balambul, but any trip to Casino this year, they're going to be 2 points. It's pretty hard to get because their defence was excellent. I thought Noah King, he tried hard. We spoke about Noah King last year. He actually put a beautiful sort of 25, 30-metre kick, got a repeat set for his team. And then I think that's when Torrens might have scored their first try. I think McGrady threw a nice cutout pass for that try. So they do still have a little bit of flair, but you're right, Nev, it just felt like it was going to happen at the back end. We didn't obviously call that game. So watching the game back, knowing the score, I kept thinking to myself, when are these 2 tries coming? It's 10-6 or whatever it was, and I'm waiting for these tries. It's got on our huddle, it's showing 85 minutes, and at the 81st minute, it's still down by 4 or 6. I'm thinking, when are these tries? And then Lachlan Kennedy got over to put them back on equal terms, and then Paul O'Neill just carved them up the middle, and who should loom up in support was the king, Mitchell Krause, and he went over untouched and let him know. Because as you said earlier, mate, Dane Pratt certainly let him know early that he was Hayden Pratt, sorry, Hayden Pratt, So well done to brothers. Not their best outing. They were pretty poor. A lot of errors and a lot of wrong options early, but 2 points, good way to start the year.
And just looking at the pitch, it was a very muddy pitch. So that's obviously going to slow the players down too when you're trying to lift your legs up off, like, you know, 3-4 inches thick of mud on your ankles. And I knew that, like, being in a little makeshift commentary box at Balambul the other day with Mickey. But I think Josh Beach also flexed some serious muscle in defence early as well. And you've got to also look at the likes of who else? As you said, Mitchell Krause, the Kennedy boys, and I just think you're right, Crossy. I think once like Lismore's only 20 minutes away from Casino, but I think there's going to be a lot of those Tweed teams going to be playing there. They're going to be in for a bit more of a contest. So, Mickey, did you catch any of the game at all?
No, I only saw the results, but as it would happen, it was the only game of the week that I tipped right, I think. I was trying to be a bit of a...
1 out of 4, mate.
I was trying to be cheeky and tip all the upsets. Yeah, and then it sounds like I shouldn't even got that one right either. So I don't know. I got a mate who works down in Lismore, and he's whether he just talked him up, and that's why I was like, oh yeah, Lismore will be in for a big year. I think they did get a couple of players come across, maybe from the Q Cup system, but
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they progress throughout the season as well. And same with Casino, because it's definitely one they could have won, and they'll be kicking themselves for not taking the 2 points. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't catch it, but I do remember in our last podcast how much Crossy was talking up a strong Marist with their old boys, and they're all going to rebuilding, looking really strong and for a good season. And then when a team like Casino loses Roy Bell and the other players that you said, if you don't really replace them with some real guns, then going up against a strong, formidable club like Marist was always going to be a tough challenge, and it looks like they just lost out at the end.
And that's what I saw when I was watching it late last night. It was just they missed. I mean, like we could play hypotheticals till the cows come home. But you got like Roy Bell, no Trevor Bolt. They got a couple of new boys from Kyogle when Kyogle not competing this year, and I just think all these younger boys.
That's good to know. We were talking about where are some of those Kyogle boys.
And I'll go from
going.
Yeah. And actually, Byron picked up Sam Saville, so who played Kyogle last year, but that was just for one season last year. But and I just think Marist brothers, they knew that the Casino defense. It was just if you watch it from the very start, I just think Casino, the boys just went in hard. I think they went in a bit too hard. And then when you watch the third and fourth quarter, Mara saw it, and they were just making the easiest yards. And as you said, Crossy, Paul O'Neill just exposed it. And then it was just try your best. They probably could have scored more tries if it wasn't wet weather football, because they were trying a lot of dry weather football and wet weather. Like it wasn't wet, but at that time. But but for me, I just feel that give it time for Wiz Casino. I think they'll come good. I just feel that maybe this year. I just think as being a Broncos supporter right here, it's probably a couple of years in the pipeline, and then we'll see him. I think maybe Kudgeon you can almost throw on the same boat now, what we're seeing with their squads. But give it time.
Did they at least get rain down in Casino?
I think they did.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a win
really
for the farmers.
Yeah, of course. So moving along, as you made mention, Northern United, they picked up, speaking of Casino, so that's where most of their players went. So they picked up Denzel Dangerfield, Trevor Bolt, and Theo Hippai, and of course Roy Bell. Yeah, Justin Shillingsworth left to go. He's playing with Byron now, which was one that I saw on the weekend. And but with that being said, they took on a vastly somewhat new, somewhat old Mullumbimby team, and just couldn't quite get it done at home against the Giants. 16-12, the Mullumbimby Giants getting it done. And not going to mention names, but apparently I was talking to someone based in Mullum, and he was saying that he had 20. He said there was about 20 odd on making Mullum. Oh, I'm trying to remember what he said.
But Mullum favourite to win.
Coming second.
Which dodgy bookies out the back of Mullum are taking bets on this?
Probably out at Wilson's Creek where they had that illegal doof from a few days ago. Oh, a few
maybe
weeks
Ballin
ago.
is just automatically first all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Did you watch that game, Shorey? That Mullum game?
Mate, I was meant to this afternoon, but I missed it. I haven't. No. I know.
Yeah. So amongst the try scorers,
that's my homework.
Amongst the try scorers, Fred Pitt for Northern United, Denzel Dangerfield, he's no stranger to the try line, and as well as for Mullum. So Brett Kellyworth again, he's had a big year, even though we haven't had much football. He was playing under 23s for Northern United. Trey, Dan Peters, and who else there? Jed Edwards, and they just got it done 16 points to 12. I think I've got here.
So Jed Edwards played for Mullumbimby?
Yeah, that's what I got here. He was the lock. Oh, the hooker. Sorry,
he was a hooker. So
yeah.
Jed Edwards. So just so you boys know, he was in the Titans NRL fringe squad at the start of the year, and just want to go back and play a bit of local footy. So boys, he can play. He's a very crafty hooker. Went to Palm Beach Crumman High. Great young fella, Jed. So that's great for Mullum that he's playing there. I'm rapt to hear that. So I didn't know who'd turn out for Mullum. I thought they might win. I think Nav, you and I backed them, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a good win over there, and looking forward to watching them play.
Mm. And I just
sounds like a really big win. Going all those quality players that you said have rocked up to Northern, and then for Mullum to go out and craft out a win. We haven't watched that, but having a good hooker like the caliber that Crossy's just mentioned to steer around the park, Cam Smith style. Watch out for Mullum.
Okay, so as we now move along, so the other game that was played, the Tweed Coast Raiders against the Moolumbar Mustangs, and the Tweed Coast Raiders getting it done 18-14 at Cabba, and amongst the try scorers there were Tarn Robertson. I hope I got that right. Is it Tarn or Tarn?
Tarn, maybe, or
Tarn.
Yeah.
Tarn, yep. And Ethan Barr with the two. Just trying to think. There was about 5 goals kicked. So
it was such a bizarre game because
game of rugby, wasn't it?
An 18-14 scoreline, you think maybe 3 tries apiece, but it was actually the first try was a penalty try to Mullum.
Yeah.
And they converted, so it was 8-0, then it was 6-4 to Cabba, then it was 8-all, then it was 10-8, then it was 10-10, then it was 12-10, and then it was like you couldn't even, and the scoreboard wasn't working as well, so you didn't have the scoreboard. You're like doing this.
Well, the Cabba scoreboard hasn't been working for the last who knows how long. Get Kevin Ferrugia on here. He keeps telling me, he said, we need to get a working scoreboard.
But yeah, it was a very definitely physical game, and there was a lot of goals kicked, because there was a heap of penalties, man. And they were just out to bash each other. Everyone was just so excited. They hadn't played footy in so long, but the over-aggression, it cost both teams got to play a sin bin, and also, so many penalties, so many penalty goals, and it was a good game to watch. That was one that I watched before we came on here, and Tweed Coast, just the usual suspects doing their thing. Dan Ross, he played real good up front, and Dan Willoughby from dummy half, he got held up twice in the game, so that he, scooting from dummy half, and Dom Murray, he got their man of the match, and he's just like an extra forward out there in the centres. And you mentioned Ethan Barr, he scored their first try, but he dislocated his shoulder, he broke his collarbone or something like that, so he might be out for the season. And also, you might have heard Guy Lanston, he had a pretty nasty head clash very early in the game. So they had him out for most of the game, and his temple or his skull, it was like deviated in. He was almost going to have surgery, but he's still in hospital now.
Wow.
I think he had surgery, and he might have needed a plate, but he's in good spirits. I was talking to him during the week, but he's out for the year, and there's talk that might have been his last rugby league game, because the head knock was that bad. So we wish him and his girlfriend Bridie and his little daughter Chili well, because he needs to be recovered ASAP. And to even think that he won't play again, it's pretty huge news, but we'll just take it as it comes. But big shout out to Guy.
All the best, Guy.
But he was a sensational player to watch. I just watched him all last season. He was such an integral part of that team, and I don't, this is country rugby league. He'll have a great career going out after this, and he can go out on top and with his head held high. And
I just want to quickly iterate, though, that's the second season in a row that both either one of the Lanston brothers got a season-ending injury at the start of the year. Drew was last year, and so it's just a shame for those boys that they would love to be playing with each other out in the field, and it's so on the first time of asking at the start of this season and last that they both had a season-ending injury. So, Guy, if you're watching, all the best, mate, and hopefully you heal up quickly.
I think we said 2 weeks ago they were due for some injury luck this year, the Raiders. So far out, that's horrible. that's a big loss. It's a shame. I'm with you, sure. He's so good to watch. So, thoughts.
I'm sure, there's a lot more to, as you know, Crossy, you can end your career and there's a lot more outside of footy. So, it's not the be all and end all. Go and have a great life. Continue it.
Yep.
Okay, so what a first round, and we've got another 9 to go, unless COVID has something a bit more to say. But we're 1 down, 9 to go, boys. And hopefully the weather stays.
Week.
Yeah, so week by week. So if this is anything to go by, it's going to be potentially one of the better seasons, which we thought might not even happen. And we've got some big action coming up over the this Sunday. So of course we've got the Byron Derby, Byron versus Mullum. So again, boys, I'll ask for your tips each one. So we'll go through each game and then whatever, and ask your tip and why, and then we'll go from there. So you first, Crossy. Byron Mullum.
The old derby, eh? This could be a good one. I'll tell you, I'll tip the Bay, but they'll have to fix their goal line defence. I mean, Coogin didn't throw much footy at them on the weekend because they made so many errors, and their goal line defence was paper thin. So I'm sure Carney will be looking to fix that this week. They leaked 2 or 3 just really soft tries. So I'll back the Bay.
Sure. Now, you played for both clubs as a junior, so where's your heart lying on Sunday?
I haven't watched the Mullum game, so I can't say anything with any value yet again. So I'll tip Byron based on the only thing I've watched. and I like their form, and it's their first game together.
Yep.
So I think they hopefully will iron out a lot of kinks during the week. I know that all they're focusing on just playing footy in their training sessions. So they would have learned a lot from the weekend, and they'll be pumped. And especially, I think the win really mean a lot to them. But both teams off a win. It's going to be a cracking game, and you'll be sure that I'll be there with bells on.
Yeah. And Mickey, Byron Mullum.
I'll tip Byron just because everyone else did, and then that way I can't fall behind anymore. So.
Oh, Jesus.
and just reiterate that Mickey tipped 1 out of 5 of last week's tipping comp, which is impressive in itself.
Okay, we'll make it 1 out of 4 because we all know that you're not going to take your Blamble shirt for anybody, Mickey.
No,
you know
it's
that.
1 out of 5.
Technically 1 from 4.
No, not technically.
I'm on 1 point.
Yeah, 1 point. So, and we must iterate. Sure, you're on 3 out of 5. You got 3, and me and Crossy.
Actually, you know what? I'll change it. I'll change to Mullum Bimby because then I can
get ahead.
All right,
exactly. You got to fight from behind.
And you know what? They could win. They won last year.
Bloody oath they can win.
So that was probably the reason why Byron didn't play finals. Is that he had a 16-0 lead, and you and I, Crossy, were calling on the Gold Coast that day. And then
Mullum love coming down to Byron. They get a big crowd down, and they stick it up us.
Yeah, and I just want to iterate too that, and just technically, when I said that it wasn't a play. It's not a player that said that Mullum's going to be in the top 2. So there's no insider info or any of it. There's none of that going on. It's just one of your mates, sure, or someone that you might know. So just a little barfly who hangs out in Wilson's Creek. So but otherwise, no. That's just, if you iterate, you just a diehard like you, Shorey.
That's a cryptic crossword. I'll take some time to unravel.
Oh, mate, a few people, so we'll just leave it at that. Me and Crossy got 4 out of 5. So
here we go.
Well, I actually didn't. Well, let's put it this way. Well, the one I got wrong, I tipped Northern to beat Mullum, but and I'll be tipping against them this weekend. So I'll be tipping Byron against Mullum. So only because I just thought Byron's attack, I think, is finally gelled, and but it's Crossy's right. If they don't defend, Mullum's going to probably make them know it. But with that being said,
Byron's got a really big pack as well.
They've got a big back line too.
Exactly, they're really big. So you want to put a lot of points on, and to avoid stuffing those tries. Yeah.
So 3 of us for Byron, and Mickey's got Mullum. So the other game, Tweed Coast Raiders at Cabo versus Casino. You first, Mickey.
It's a tough one, man. Like I was saying, they've lost Guy Lanston, they lost Ethan Barr. It's in the first game, so it's just they've got the players. No matter what 17 they're going to put on there, they're going to put on a performance. I'm actually going to tip Tweed Coast only because it's at Tweed Coast, and Casino having to come up to Tweed Coast. It's probably the longest road trip of the season. I don't think Balamble goes past Lismore, so that's probably the longest one of the year. And so only because it's at Tweed Coast, I'll tip Tweed Coast.
Sorry.
My heart says Casino. My head says Tweed.
So who's it going to be then?
My head. I'm going to go with my head. The road trip coming. Oh, with a loss. No, I'm going to go with my heart. Casino.
Okay. Crossy.
I'll back the Raiders, mate, with no great confidence because I think Casino played really good last week. I just don't know where their points will come from to be able to keep in touch with the Raiders this week.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I feel that Tweed Coast is known for their defence. That's what their pride. That's what won a title a couple of years ago. And I just think Casino, if they pull some magic out like they did, because they did in that semi-final last year, then sure. But I just think that as the other factor too, they're at Cabba, longest road trip in the comp at the moment. And I think, Tweed Coast has still got that strong defence, even without the Lanston boy or Guy Lanston. And I just think they're just going to be gritty. They'll have the Hillbillies there, being their 14th man. And I just think Casino, they'll defend well. I just feel they need to, they just don't need to put the foot on the floor for the first quarter, and they should be right. But I just think Tweed in a close one, and I just think also they want revenge for going out in a very close one in that semi-final last year. Okay, so moving along, the next game is Coogin and Northern United. I reckon that's going to Shorey.
Where are they playing? They're playing at Coogin?
Coogin, yeah.
Yep. I'll take United coming off a loss. I'm going to go for the teams who lost because I reckon it's really close. I reckon teams that lost are going to be desperate for a win. I'm going United.
And Mickey.
It's, I think sure you brought it up before about all these extra good players that Northern have, but if they don't get it together soon, you can put a whole star-studded roster. But if they never play together and they don't know how they're playing with each other, this isn't the season to kind of play around, and it has to happen sooner rather than later. So for both sides, it's going to be a must-win game for the rest of the season, because we were talking, if you lose 4 games, you might not make it. So if you lose your first 2, it's not a very good start. I'm only going to tip Coogin, once again, home ground advantage. They were a bit lackluster last week, and they should be back up to pumping themselves up at home. So,
and Crosby.
Yeah, this has been an interesting game, won't it? Coogin will need to find something in attack, albeit it was wet last week, but they didn't look great with the ball at all. Whereas, as we all know, if Northern turn up and some passes stick, they can score points and score them quickly. I'm going to follow Shorey. I'm going to tip Northern United to win this one.
And that'll be 3 of us, because one thing that I've noticed with Northern United, and I said this in podcasts before, and I said this in the last episode, they've got some of the best attack, and this is before they picked up Trevor Bolton, Roy Bell, and Denzel Dangerfield, and they've scored plenty of try for Casino last year. And they already had great attack before those boys came in. It was just their defence that was a worry, and I just think their defence, even though they didn't quite get it done, they still conceded 16. For me, it wasn't the 20 or 30 points that they last year. They conceded 30 points per game when I was looking into it, but I think it might hold up okay. And I think Coogin, who knows? I mean, they might first game at home. They post incident with the Leagues Club, they might lift them a bit. But I think Northern United, if Coogin are going to have to defend well, or Northern United could actually win by about 10, I think. So I'll also take Northern United as well, knowing all that. Okay, in the next game, I'm just going to put Balamble down for you now, Mickey, against Morelambar. Okay. We're
Balamble by 20.
Okay, you're confident. Probably after last week you might be. But being thrown in the deep end first up, though, do you reckon that has its advantages, or would you have liked them to wait towards the end of the year before you play the 2 grand finalists?
Well, that game that I watched against the Balamble Ballina game, it was very physical. And I'm watching the game going, this is pretty tough. I don't know if it's because they're trying to prove a point both sides. But then I watched the Cabarita Mooloolaba game, and I'm like, mate, this is just as physical. Maybe the whole comp are just pretty tough and bashing
It's 4
kind of
months of
style
frustration,
play.
mate. It's four
And
months
like-
and plus a 6 month off season. It's just, mate, we talk about it all the time, and I'm sure he's back. It's just frustration. And I said to you last week in the call last week, Mickey, it's like you wouldn't, especially in Ballina's case, you wouldn't know that they just had a 4 month extended recess from the
yeah,
off season.
exactly, 100%. Yeah,
Off season, yeah.
And one of the reasons I wanted to watch the Wollongbar Cabba game is because Bilambo were playing Wollongbar this week, and for the Murbar team against Cabarita, Joe Bestgrove, is that his name? The hooker?
The hooker.
Yeah, mate, he plays real good, great service, and he's pretty tall. He's tall and lanky, like for a hooker, looks big. So he played really well. And Tom Vickery, I think one of the centers out there wide, he was real fast too. So it's it'll be a good game out at Wollongbar, first home game.
Yeah.
And they've got some good players. The two front rowers are massive as well for Murbar. So it'll be a good game. I can't wait for it. But yeah, tipping Bilambo.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Joe Besgrove, he's absolutely imperative in that spine for the Mustangs. And as we mentioned this numerous times last year in that grand final. Like any other game, he was already got injured, I think, with a knee during the year of last year. But then when he had that shoulder and he was off in the first 5 minutes, it was brave of him to play up until the 20-minute mark in that grand final, and then he just couldn't handle the pain no more, which understandably. But when he's firing, Moorlambar, they'll take out anyone in their day and they'll do it well. Crossy, what are your thoughts, Moorlambar and Lamble?
Yeah, tough one. I watched Bilambo, as we said at the top, but I haven't seen the Mustangs. Do we know is their backline relatively much the same with Cusack and Adam
Cade
Walker
Hill,
and these guys?
Well, actually, I didn't mention. Liam Cusack scored a try, so he's continuing on the top try scorer from last year. He's gone on starting his account back up, and Cade Hill.
They got McIntosh at fullback still.
Yeah, Toby McIntosh at fullback. Yeah, so they've still got a few of the heads. Caleb Howe's no longer there, no more. So he was
a skipper.
Yeah, he was the skipper. Yeah, so Jack Bishop's still there. Thomas Vickery, Adam Walker, Remy Venu. So they've still got pretty much a very similar. And they got Dion Banchetti from Kyle, so that's another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, based on that, I'll tip the Mustangs at home, but they're a first round loser as well. They'll be keen to get on the board. So, sorry, Mickey, Bilambo were very good, but I think the Mustangs might have a bit too much in attack. Maybe a close one. 32-28. There you go.
32-28. So you're picking scores now, Crossy. You sound confident.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what I do.
Picking margins.
Sure. Who you like?
I like everyone, but this game I'm going to tip the Mustangs.
We'll give you a participation prize. Yeah.
Mustangs made it to the grand final last year. Coming off the loss, they're playing at home. And there's a bloke who runs a market store next to me who, for the last 18 months, has worn a Moorlambar Mustang shirt every single week of the year. And so I'm going to back up for him.
Okay, well, you're a good man, Shorey, but I think Moorlambar, but I think it's going to be close because I saw glimpses of Bilambo. They've got some serious heart amongst them, and I feel we could have a repeated. Let's put it this way: Bilambo played the way that they did, and Moorlambar played the way. Which I'm held against Tweed Coast, then I think Bilambo could take the upset, even at Moorlambar. It's only just down the road, so it's not, you couldn't really consider too much of travel. But I think Moorlambar, after having that, they did have a slow start last year too against Evans Head, but then I just think they'll click in the gear. And with Liam Cusack and and Joe Besgrove as well, I just feel that. I feel there might be about 6 to 8 points in it for the Mustangs, but they're going to have to play well. And because if Bilambo played the way that they did against Ballina, I would not be surprised if that one flips. And the final game, Maris Brothers against Ballina. Crossy?
Gee, that's the only match of the round, isn't it? Brothers Ballina at Kingsford Smith Park.
Crozier. No, it's at Lismore. Yeah.
Crozier. Far out. This will be an absolute cracker. I think it was a dry track. I think Brothers will actually play some footy like they can. A lot of their passes on the weekend didn't stick. They actually could have been well in that game and got it done sooner than what they did. But you just can't tip against Ballina at the moment. They showed me enough on the weekend to to tell me that they'll win. So let's tip the Seagulls.
Mickey?
Yeah, I'm going to tip Ballina. I think, Crossy, you mentioned about Luke Douglas running to the line and throwing those, those wedge plays and those block plays. And off one of them, I think it was a dropout. He got it and he steamed 1,000 miles an hour. And they just threw a perfect 20-meter cutout pass to like the center, who made that extra 6 meters. And you just like, he's a good player. He's real kind hearted dude. They all stuck around after the Prezzo and stuff at Bilambil. Everyone in the canteen behind the bar Bilambil were writing Facebook comments saying, Ballina was so nice and you done your club well. So I think they're going to be pretty professional and they're going to be tough to beat always. So, yeah, I'm going to tip Ballina.
And Shorey?
I'll tip Ballina until they fail me. And I've yet to do that.
You really do need to do your homework, man. You really do. And look, I'm going to say Ballina, but I feel they might have got away with it. They all power to them, 16 points in the first 10 minutes. But then they kind of put the cue on the rack and they probably underestimated Bilambil from patches of the game. They cannot get away with that against Morris because Bilambil, it was the unknown to them. That was the unknown factor, between the two teams. Ballina playing against a Gold Coast-based club for all their history and vice versa. Morris, no Ballina. Ballina, no Morris. They play like that. I think Morris have got a case of getting the potential upset.
Where are they playing?
Morris Brothers.
Can I change my tier?
Yeah, your call.
Just make it interesting. I'll make it interesting. I'll go Morris.
Okay.
Because there's an upset there for the taking.
No, you're right, sure.
And I reckon and I feel if Ballina were to do what they did against Bilambil, I could go with that. But I'm going to say Ballina. They're a champion team for a reason. They've won every year except a couple since 2013 for a reason. And I feel they'll pick up and they'll do the job against Marist. So that's all the few interesting tips amongst that. A few consistent. So I'm just trying to iterate if everyone's tipped the same. No. Everyone's got at least one different.
Yeah, good, exactly. Make it interesting.
Yeah, you've made it interesting.
I'll be winning. I'll be winning by the end of this week.
You've even you've got Casino and Mara, so you're two different ones.
Yeah, here we go. This one, climb ahead of the ladder.
Oh, mate,
they call me Sure Thing Shorey.
Yeah, Sure Thing Shorey. There we go. Yeah. Well, that's it. So in other words, so when you're at the game, you say you tip the other way. That's how you, because we're in a tipping comp together, you and me. So that's how he tips. He'll go.
And I'm winning.
He'll go to the tab and bet one, and then go on the tipping comp and bet another. So that's Sure Thing Shorey.
And how was the food at Bilambil, Duane?
Oh, I didn't eat any of the food there. I just drank my 6 bottles of water. They usually do, but no, it's pretty good eating. We still got to do that. We still got to do that podcast where we're gonna rate all the canteen foods, and I think we'll all have to have a bit of a say amongst that. Maybe for a post-season podcast, or if COVID shut us down after the next couple of weeks or whatever.
I reckon there's big demand for that.
Well, we'll do that. That's an idea. We'll have to. We'll make that. We'll have the season review, and then we'll have the novelty topics along the way. But anyway, boys, my Zoom counter is counting. We've got 3.5 minutes left.
I'm going fishing.
But final thoughts heading what we've just seen and what's to come. All three. So you first, Crossy.
No, I just think it was a great start and I think Mickey mentioned before the physicality of it. All the games I watched, there's some big guys running around. There's some physical defence, and I just think the comp's looking as good as it probably has in a long time. So I'm excited about local footy. Fantastic.
Shorey.
Love it. Great to be down at the football. You're walking around. The trainers are happy to be there. The security at the gate's happy to be there. The players are happy to be there. A bit of normality. We love it. Let's play.
And Mickey.
Yeah, I don't like that. Unfortunately, some of the teams had to pull out for this season, but it does mean that there's more talent in less teams. So that's why the games were so close. There was no standout. It was anyone's game, anyone's week, and it could be anyone's comp. So yeah, let's keep it going and fingers crossed, no more injuries.
And just before we go, I'll just even though we've only had one round, so Byron Bay actually on top of the ladder, Shorey. There you go. So
wow.
on 2 points on the for and against, so 14. Then followed by Ballina, Maris Brothers, Mullum, that's your 4th. I mean, that's early days. Tweed Coast, 5th. Then Wollumbar, Northern United Casino, Balamble, and Coogin. Yeah, but it's all irrelevant.
There's no blowouts either.
No blowouts. No. So we're gonna hopefully see a bit more of that this weekend. So that's all the time we have got for episode 2 of the NRRRL podcast, episode 9 of the Duaneo podcast. Whenever you want to call it, we'll do this all again next Wednesday. So Mickey, have a good weekend, brother. Shori,
You too, guys.
don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I'll see you on Sunday. Crossy, you're in the box with me on Sunday.
Can't wait, mate, wherever they
And so that is all for the NRRRL podcast, episode 2. Enjoy the footy on Sunday, and we'll see you next week.